Hello everyone. If you haven't met me before, I'm Catherine and I'm running Did You Know This year for Nicole in the primary sector. And if you know anyone in post-primary, before we get going, we've got another lovely lady called Louise Kerr who's running some for post-primary. So please tell them to look out for her. She's just starting it this year. Lots of people were asking about it, hearing about the primary one last year. I apologise in advance if I get your name wrong, because there's only a couple of people that have their first names up. I'll try and remember who had signed up, but I'll probably just call upon you as, I know Debs, but D. Adams. And so if you hear your name shout out, please give me a wave or a chat or whatever it is we're talking about. Okay. So if you haven't joined us before, our email address, I'm just going to pop it up on the screen. Should be coming your way now. There we go. Hopefully, Debs, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see it?
I can't see anything, but that's maybe me. Oh, there we go. We've got
coming up now, yeah. As if you were on our last one, you'll know that my school internet is dodgy as get out. So this time I'm not sharing from Adobe Express. I've downloaded a PDF and I'm hoping that it won't kick me out of my own meeting on repeat. But we'll see how it goes. So if I disappear, you know what's happened. It's my Wi-Fi, so I apologize. So we're starting today by talking about curriculum planning and progression. And I've popped my email address up on the screen there. So if you have any questions before today that you wanted to ask and you didn't have it, or if you have any questions after today, if you have any questions during it and you don't want to ask out loud in front of everyone, please feel free to drop me an email afterwards or even during the session, or you can hang about at the end if you want to have a chat with me. That's no problem. So, oh, there we go. And I've got no Nicole today, so I'm going to be clicking between people joining the call and my screen, which is probably going to be very annoying for everyone, so I apologize. So hopefully we'll get everyone in a minute or two. We won't have that.
Catherine, do you want to make me co and I can let people in?
That would be amazing. Deborah, thank you. Add as co-host.
And then sure, I'll do that bit and you can just work away.
You are a legend. Thank you very much. So, hi to the new people who've just joined us there. My email address should now be appearing back on your screen. So if you need it for any questions during this, after this, anything that you think of while we're going along, please feel free to drop me a line. So we're going to start off with a little icebreaker, just so we can hear some ideas from people. So I'd like you to just pop into the chat and I'll show it on the screen in a wee second. Maybe something that you've used recently, a new app, a new website, or a new digital resource. Maybe a program that you've even heard about that you'd like to use. So maybe something that we could maybe think about for another DigiShare, something that you want to try that you maybe don't know a lot about, or something that you've heard somebody discuss on social media or LinkedIn or one of those platforms. So I'm going to give you, let's say, 2 minutes to pop something in. 2 minutes is probably a bit long. 1 minute to pop something in. And we'll see what we come up with. Silence on the messages. Oh, there we go. Emma McGuckin. Sorry, I don't know your first name. Just Too Easy. Copilot Minecraft. Excellent. I'm now down in Key Stage 1, so I've lost my Minecrafty side of things, but the kids do love it. ArcadeMakeCode.com. Yes, lovely. Clang Soundboard for digital music and art. I've never heard of that. Dev's Adobe Express. Project Evolve Microbits. Yeah. Polypad and Chrome Music Lab. I've never heard of Polypad. Okay, Best, would you like to elaborate and tell us what Polypad is? You can type or talk, I don't mind. Just Too Easy, GarageBand, Lego Spike.
Polypad is amazing.
Oh, Debs, do you know what it is?
Yeah, so it's like an online numeracy resource. So you can go on and you can show like a fraction wall, or you can show your deans, and it's just really practical side of numeracy. You can show shapes, and you can show them like the net of them and then building up. So it is really practical. It's a really good visual for numeracy.
Lovely. One that I used recently, actually, I'll pop it in the chat so people can see it. ICT games, which I never really put down as a good like classroom resource before. We would have done it actually for games, but there was a vertical addition and vertical subtraction one, and it broke the tens and units down, the deans, as you carried them across, so the children could actually see the 10 breaking into the ones, and it was brilliant down here in Key Stage 1. Toy theatre, yes, lovely. And you said iPads using Apple Classroom, very good. Okay, so I'm going to pop ourselves back over onto this. And hopefully it'll appear on your screen imminently. There we go. Okay, so our DigiShare ethos is about sharing ideas and lots of people contributing, speaking, talking to each other, and we've already done that just now. I know we didn't talk about it, but we chatted about it, and you're going to get an opportunity to talk about it some more in the breakout rooms. But thank you for bringing your ideas to us. Okay, so we'll just nip over a couple of sort of housekeeping things as we had the last time. These are our top topic requests. So again, if you're looking at that and you think, oh, there's something on there that I would really like to find out more about, please drop me an email. These are open to change. We can tag them together. We can move them about. It's more about what you guys need as ICT coordinators rather than what I'm getting ideas for doing. And here's a little rundown of our proposed schedule. So we had our role of the ICT coordinator last time, which I took about half part in, and Debs and Nicole led the rest of it. Thank you. And then today we've got curriculum planning and progression. And then November, we're going to look at tracking and evidence. And then as we go down there, and you'll see on there in the corner is a little Linktree code. And that is the website for Did You Know This? So if you need signups again, or if you want slides or there's another couple of bits that I'll show you in here that are on there. It's a great website and a great resource. And our contact details are on there as well if you need anything from any of us. I'll confirm the date near the time. I might send out actually for November and December a little poll to see what sort of time we want it, because I know in December everyone's mad busy. I will be mad busy as well with Nativity. So probably thinking about having it early in December. But I wanted to get the digital leaders one done before Christmas, because I know lots of people have been asking about it and how to get their digital leaders up and running and ideas for them. Okay. So another good one on the screen, a quick tip. We had this one last time, but a couple of people had actually emailed to ask for the link again. So it's on the screen there now, and as is the QR code. So this is the link to our 45 lessons in Northern Ireland that Adobe have designed. They all link to the 5 E's and using the desirable features. But you'll see here, I've got a screenshot of the contents page when you enter in. They're all linked to different areas. So you've got history, geography, science, technology, literacy, PDMU, art and design, and then using ICT. I can say I've done some of the geography and history ones so far this year, and the kids have absolutely loved them. They're really easy to follow. There's videos on there to help you. There's lesson plans, there's examples. So it's a really good resource, and they're really adaptable. So even if you're not doing Ancient Egypt, have a look at what the Ancient Egypt one is. You might be able to change it into something for Ancient Greece, for example, or into Vikings, or you can probably edit the resource. Can get more words out there. Edit the resource into something that works for you. And again, that's sometimes less work than starting off from scratch by yourself. So it's a great place to start if you're looking for some ICT ideas, especially cross-curricular ones. So back to why we're here, planning and progression. Now, everything that I'm going to show you are ideas from either my school now or my previous school or schools' friends that I've worked with and them sharing things with me. So these are not definite ways, obviously, to do anything. These are just ideas, and every school are totally unique. And you'll have your own journey. You'll know where you are yourself and where you're thinking about going. So some schools base their planning on the 5 E's, and they might look at their progression across the year through those. So every year group, they'll look at, are we covering explore, express, exchange, evaluate, exhibit? How many times are we covering those throughout the year? And having a tally across and making sure we've got coverage of exhibiting at least 3 times. We've got to evaluate at least 3 times. That is a great way to do it. You can also link it, as you can see on this page here. You can see that explore, express, evaluate, exhibit, and exchange are along the top, but they've also got the desirable features linked in, so you can build in both. So you can see there in P1, they're doing 2 tasks, which is obviously quite a lot for P1 to get hold of, but they're giving it a go. And you can see how they're covering the 5 E's here in the middle. You can see my cursor move. Yes, there's a wee tiny screen there in the corner. I can see that. And then you can see the desirable feature that it links to. And what the teacher has done there, or the coordinator, I should say, has then at the bottom, they've got a tally of how many times they've covered the 5 E's and also how many times they've covered the desirable features throughout P1 up to P7. So that's a good way to have a look at it. The curriculum links are there, as you can see. So they've linked them to things that they're doing in class. The teachers chose these subjects because they knew they were going to cover them in lessons. They knew they could do an ICT task based on them. They'd have work in place to use. Some other ways to then have a look might just be using the desirable features. So you might have a think about, am I going to cover 2 per year? Am I going to do 3 per year? And I'm going to build that up over several years to covering all. Or am I going to try and do 1 this year, focus on it, get everyone on board, getting everyone ready with computational thinking and coding, for example? Or am I going to focus on digital audio? No one's doing that in school, so am I going to give everyone a task on that? So you've got 1 desirable feature feeding through everyone, and then you could let staff then choose other subjects that they wanted to do, or desirable features, I should say, not subjects. So there's a couple of different ways that you can think about it, and if you're doing it that way, then your grid might look something like this. So you might see then, you can see what desirable features being covered. It still links to a SIA task. You're still giving staff a structure for them and a sort of a lesson plan for them, and it also gives them some ideas of the types of resources they can use or the programs they can use to complete the task. So you can see here in this school, they were doing 5 tasks throughout the year, which I do personally think is quite a lot, but it depends on your school, it depends on your staff, it depends where you are in your ICT journey. You know, as I said, going back here, you might, for example, if you're starting out on an ICT journey and you think, right, I need to look at art and design this year and give everyone an art and design task and then let them do other tasks that they're more comfortable with. That's a great way to start for people. Depends where you are. Okay. The last thing I want you to have a think about is linking it to topics. Okay, so the way that I got staff buy-in in our school when I arrived was linking it to something they were already doing. I wasn't giving them anything new. I was saying, can you give me a list of your topics that you do in P1, P2, P3, P4, etc. And I went and found them a task and I gave it to them. And then I said, right, I want you to try that. If you need any help, if you need feedback, come back to me. And it did work really well. They did obviously choose tasks that they were more comfortable with, or sorry, topics that they were more comfortable with. And then the tasks that I gave them linked much more to world around us than to computing side of things. But it's a good starting point, and you want staff buy-in, you want people to be like, right, I can do this. You don't want them to look at it and think, oh my goodness, you're giving me 3 new things to do. I can't do any of those, so I'm going to do none of them. So you really want to get them on board with you. Okay. However, obviously thinking about that, you've got other things to think about, like your budget. Do you need new resources? You need to think about training. Do you need to get people in to do things? So at the minute, obviously the Teacher Professional Learning Fund was out there, and I know a lot of schools have budgeted quite a bit for ICT. Alternatively, our school actually then did literacy, numeracy and world around us, and we're going to get ICT training out of that. So we're going to link it in with other subjects, so then we can get the benefit of both. So you can think about it in that way if you need staff training. You also need to think about your prior pupil knowledge when you're looking at your planning. So if you're again in a school that is at the beginning of a journey, you want to be thinking, if I throw in 5 new things for staff, obviously a lot of staff can get on board and they can do those 5 new things, but can the pupils do 5 different new things throughout the year? Or do you need to start to think about, right, they've been doing PowerPoint for the last number of years, let's give them a PowerPoint one and then one other new thing. So you're building up the pupil confidence as well and not giving them a bit of an overload panic. And the other big thing, obviously, that we're thinking about is time. So time for staff, time for pupils to get things done, fitting in with the rest of the curriculum on how that looks. Okay. So I just wanted to very quickly show you, before we have our first breakout room, an idea of a planner for ICT. So that might be another thing that you want to think about, is we had a planner. I'll scroll back to the first one just so you can kind of see the difference. So a very basic overview with color blocks and programs, a sort of nearly even more basic overview with just a resource, what it covers and what you're doing. Or you could break it down into a termly planner, but this would be the sort of thing you'd be thinking about staff doing themselves. So there's a topic on Scratch, what their learning intentions are, what the outcomes of the task you want to see, and then the lesson plan. Now that could be something that if you're doing a new unit that you've got to focus on in school, that you might do an example of that for, say, foundation stage, an example for Key Stage 1 and an example for Key Stage 2, so they can see the sort of explanation and the detail that you want to put in it. Or you might want to leave it very blank and give them more ownership as a staff. So then say, my lesson 1 would be introduction to Scratch. My lesson 2 would be drawing a square. My lesson 3 would be this. Give them a little overview, and then they can start to fill it in and add the detail themselves, which again sometimes helps with staff confidence, because then they're reflecting on their lesson, they're typing into their planner afterwards, and then you could have essentially a completed evaluated planner at the end, rather than a planner that you get handed that just gets printed off the system every year, because that's the one that we do in P5, and it doesn't necessarily reflect what the kids are actually doing and actually learning. So for our first breakout room, what I'd like you to be thinking about and having a chat about is what way your planning looks in school at the moment. So do you have an overview grid like my coloured one? Do you have an overview grid with just a task list on it? Do you give people individual planners? What does your planning system look like in school? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, because I don't think, as much as my ICT is good, my meeting capabilities are possibly on a very different level. And we're going to do a little breakout room. There are, let me see, I'm going to pop us in. Sorry, somebody's coming into my room, my boss again. Some of you have already met him earlier, came in, even though I've locked my door. That's how these things go. Okay, and set up breakout rooms. I'm going to do 3 rooms, so we'll have 6 people in some, 4 in another, and I will stay out in the main call if anyone needs to leave. So when you get into the room, I think we could do the, let me see, we did the ICT coordinator for the longest last time. The person whose birthday is the soonest could give us a little bit of feedback from your room. Don't all hate me. And I'm going to put you on a timer of 5 minutes. Okay. So think about what planning you have in place in your school, whether it's an overview, whether it's individual, and have a little chat. Okay, I shall see you in a moment. So how do we all get on? Who was in active avatars? Who's our person who's going to feed back to us from them?
I think that was me. We were talking a bit about just the new curriculum coming in, and I can't remember who it was, but was saying, you know, there's maybe going to be quite a significant change. So in terms of just maybe starting to plan something now that has like a long-term impact, or with a long-term view to it, maybe isn't the best use of time, was maybe what we were hearing, because it looks like there could be quite a big change, and potentially just spend a lot of time putting a new scheme in place that could maybe change within 6 months to a year. You know, we obviously don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I think a lot of us maybe we're just feeling that we're not exactly sure what we should be doing with our planning, but it might, I don't know.
No, you're totally right. And I think the only thing about it is the curriculum might change, but you'll find the SIA tasks probably won't change for a while until they catch up with that. So you might then find that the expectation is still that you're leveling. And then to be able to level, you'll probably want to keep those in mind. I know a lot of schools use them. You don't have to, but it's maybe something that you maybe want to keep on going at the moment, just in case. Because I know last year we obviously reported literacy and numeracy levels, and this year there's been no word about what we have to report, but there is potential that it will be ICT as well. I don't know if Deb has heard anything that I haven't.
No, haven't heard anything, but I would say
No.
the ICT levels will come.
Same, and I would imagine it's this year. Now I do work on the side for SIA, and at the minute I'm doing numeracy stuff with them. I haven't heard anything about ICT yet, but I do moderate for them, and I do think it will be coming soon. That's just my feeling from meetings and what I've heard about numeracy and the way that they're ramping things up. And obviously with the assessments that are being written at the minute to go out this year in March to the third of schools that have signed up for them, I feel like the minister is really, he'll want reported levels for ICT probably after that, whether it's this year or possibly maybe next year. And with the curriculum change, even though we might then have something else to look at with our planning, you'll probably still want to, like I say, have those tasks on, like, in your back pocket to be able to provide some levels and some evidence with. What about the Brilliant Bites? What did you guys come up with?
I don't know if that was us or not, because I didn't bother looking at the name.
You were a chatbot.
Excellent. We were too busy chatting.
I think it was maybe us. No, listen,
Okay.
we talked, three of us talked about how our school approached it. One was in the very sort of the beginning of their ICT journey, and just recently taken over as coordinator. Another lady had spoke about their school. We're doing desirable features, but it was very hard to ascertain progression because they weren't all doing the same desirable feature.
Yes.
And I had mentioned that so in our school we do a task, we take one desirable feature a year, we focus on it, and P1 and 2 do the foundations to whatever that is. So they do like unplugged activities, and then 3 to 7 do the actual tasks. And then, well, we didn't do it last year with industrial action, but we take samples of work and then we do self-moderation then ourselves.
Brilliant.
But we sort of said, look, everybody's on a different path, everybody has their own ideas, and because it is cross-curricular, it's not set in stone.
Totally. Yeah. As long as you've got evidence, it doesn't matter what you're using to provide, you know, to do your task. You don't have to see a task. You can do whatever you want, as long as you can provide a piece of ICT work that shows the skills that are required in the level.
Okay. And you were saying there maybe about SIA looking levels then for ICT.
Potentially. Now, don't quote me on that, but it's just the way people were talking. I was in a couple of weeks ago and they were people were muttering about it, but it was other teachers. It wasn't.
Right. But what sort of form do you think that will come in? Will they pick a child and say what level have they reached by the end of P4 in, say, coding and computational thinking, or do they want an overall level or desirable features? What way would they work that?
My last experience of it, now this has obviously gone back like 4 years. Would that be about right? For industrial action, 4 years. We reported a set of levels. So I reported 24 levels for Key Stage 1. And then if they came in to moderate, then they would select children to look at. However, after I would say the bout of industrial action that we've had, I know a lot of schools are picking several children to track. Now that's not necessarily what everyone wants to do, but they're picking, say, 2 children within a year group, one that's working towards the level and one that's working at the level. And then they can provide in every year group a level piece of evidence. And then obviously at the end of Key Stage, you would have just the children you'd have in P4 and P7. So you'd only have 2. So potentially in those year groups, you'd maybe want to choose 2 or 3 who are working at and working towards. So you've got a little range of evidence. I wouldn't say that they're going to be asking you, we've only had a year, you know, they're not going to be coming in saying, can I have 30 pieces of work, please?
Yeah. Oh, that's grand.
Okay. Although obviously I'm not an official person. I'm just guessing from what's been going on.
That's okay. Thanks.
Don't quote me. And chatbots, what about you guys?
We were just talking about how we do it in each of our schools, and I obviously come from a very big school, and the
Yeah.
other two ladies come from a smaller school than myself. So the way we do it, we have planners established for each year group. We have been working on ICT for quite a number of years now. So we've done focusing on coding, we've looked at digital art, we're focusing on digital audio, and we always spend the first year kind of as our test year, and we let the staff, I show them examples, we do training, they go and find things as well, or think about how they can implement it into tasks that they already do. And then the second year is kind of our right, let's finalize what we're going to do, let's tweak a few things, let's share ideas, and we kind of then get it embedded into our planners. But what I do then at the start of each thing, so for example, digital audio, I will have for each year group key things that I want them to do so that I can ensure that the progression is happening right the way through.
Definitely, that sounds great. Okay. So we'll just wrap up now with just a few things that I just want you to think about following, having a chat with other people. So when you're planning across your school, whether it's short term now, whether you do want to think about, yes, the curriculum's going to change. Do I want to put a 3-year plan into place? Do I just want to look at 1 year? When you're looking at that, you want to consider what tools and resources you have, the level of e-safety you're doing within school, within teaching and learning. So are the pupils not able to access the resources that you're giving them? Of course they are, but are they going to access them safely and sensibly? So say, for example, when you're starting to think about Gen AI, are your pupils at a level that they should be doing that, or do they need to have some internet safety lessons first? Staff confidence and pupil ability. So thinking about whether you need to get somebody in to do some training with staff, whether you need to do some training with staff, whether you need to give them time to explore something and then come back with questions. And sort of the same with your pupils. So if you're introducing a new piece of software, for example, Adobe Express, I know lots of people use it, but lots of schools are still just beginning to use it. What is the pupil ability there? You're not going to start with, right, let's go in and make an all singing, all dancing 25-minute video. What are the best things to start with? What are the steps in that make the pupils confident and be able to use the software and explore the software? Are you thinking about your whole school approach? So like we've said about whether we're picking a desirable feature that runs through the year, are we thinking about it in a plan, a desirable feature each year, 2 in a year, or are you thinking about you're already there, so I'm just proving my progression across school? And then the last thing I want lots of people to have a think about, and I'm very guilty of it in school, is how we celebrate the success of our ICT in school. So how do we build that into our planning, like showcasing people work? Do we have digital awards? Do we have competitions or house competitions? How are we getting the pupils engaged in their learning and celebrating their learning? And then just to wrap up, there is a lovely little resource on Did You Know This that Nicole and Emma have put together. And there's 2. One is on publishing and presenting, which you'll see down here. It's about halfway down the homepage, and one on digital storytelling, presenting, can't get my words out. And what's included in those resources, they've put together a level 1-2, a 2-3, a 3-4, and a 4-5 lesson plan. It also has examples of work and videos of how to do the work with the children. It's got leveling grids linked to the 5 E's, and they are all got the desirable features broken down. It's fine, Mr. Allen, don't worry. You're now on a YouTube recording. And you too, you wee scamp. Sorry, we've got a child looking for his water bottle. The leveling grids, linked to the 5 E's and desirable features, and they also have some lovely pupil self-evaluation documents, and it's all there for you to use. It's free, and I would really encourage you to go and have a look at it, even if you're just thinking about tracking in school or evidencing in school, just to get an idea of what things you might want to be including. And we'll be talking about that one on our next DigiShare. A few nice things for us as ICT coordinators. We've got your QR code there in the corner for our Adobe page. We've got some lovely upcoming live lessons on the Premier League and Halloween next week and the week after. If you want to sign pupils up for them or send them out to staff, they're great resources, and they're also recorded, so you can access them on YouTube via Dom Trainers channel afterwards if you don't get in on the live lesson time. And also in that link, you'll find links to the community forum and training webinars that we do with Adobe. and also our ACE Leader and ACE Innovator signups. Now, these are great, and we'll come on to another slide in a minute that talks a little bit more about that. But the ACE Leader is a lovely monthly meeting with other ACE leaders around Northern Ireland, and sometimes people from the UK join us as well. And we just chat about things that are what's going well, what things we're doing in school that are really well, creative things that we're doing. And I know Debs did a spotlight in the last one and shared some amazing stuff that she's doing in school. So it's great to see what other people are doing in schools around you, and potentially then making connections with them to go and see them, to meet up, to get some ideas. The Innovator is a little bit more than that. It is, you've got to do a little showcase video to tell Adobe how you're using it for creative learning. And then you're invited to, it's a slightly different monthly meeting, but with a little bit more, you'll get insights into what's coming from Adobe. You'll get asked for your opinions, to share things. So it's a really great group, and it's really insightful. And there's lots of great chat on it from the educators that are involved. So it's one to look out for. Our other thing that we have coming up this Saturday, if Nicole was here, she'd be loving that we're putting this in. And now it is on a Saturday. It is between 5 and 6. And I understand that that is brutal, but it's an education meetup from our global network, which will be amazing. So it's an opportunity to connect with lots of different people from around the world. Deborah's speaking at it. I'm sure.
Scary.
It'd be so good though. I can't wait to see you. And Nicole's speaking at it too. You'll hear from other educators as well. You'll hear from staff at Adobe. We'll also be doing some breakout rooms, so you'll get to meet people from around the globe and hear about what they're doing, which will be great for some new ideas. And also you'll be getting lots of swag opportunities in there. So you'll be getting some, if you're taking part in breakout rooms, or I'm not even sure what sort of way we'll be asked to do things, to be earning some swag, but you could be getting t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, bags, sunglasses, all sorts of things. The link for it is on here, and I will pop the link on our slide send out sheet that we do after slide email that I'll send out afterwards. Okay, and get some ideas on there for things that you might want to do in the future. So last slide, we've got some links for people. So our ACE Leader, our Adobe Live Lessons, and our Did You Know This page. I want you to, if you want to hang about and tell me things that you want from upcoming sessions, if you want to get somebody else added on, if you've got another fellow coordinator in school that you want to join on next time, you want to pass on their email and I can sign them up. Or if you just got any questions for me, we can have a little bit of a Q&A or a coordinator clinic. I will be popping all of these slides onto the email that will come out to you along with the recording. I will be doing that tomorrow. And I just want to say thank you very much for coming and for listening to me. And I'm glad this one went better than last time, but I am still growing my confidence. So I'm glad that you're all still here and you listened to me for 45 minutes. So thank you.